The following program is brought to you by the Edina Crime Prevention Fund.
Welcome to Beyond the Badge, a new program about the inner workings of the Edina Police Department. Thanks for joining us. I'm Officer Brian Hubbard. Fasten your seatbelts, Edina. Minnesota's primary seatbelt law went into effect in June, meaning drivers and all passengers, including those in the back seat, must be buckled up or in the correct child restraint, or they will get a ticket. Law enforcement can now stop motorists solely for seatbelt violations, including unbelted passengers. Minnesota is the 29th state to pass a primary seatbelt law, following the recent passage by Arkansas and Florida legislatures.
Because over the last number of years, all other attempts to focus in on that last group of people, that 13%, which is about 700,000 Minnesotans, has not been successful. They haven't responded positively to all of the other attempts that have been made up to now. So if we can get that compliance rate higher in that group of people, we save a lot of lives, we save a lot of life-altering crashes, and we save an awful lot of medical care, and we prevent an awful lot of families from needless tragedy when they lose loved ones in their family.
Each year in Minnesota, approximately 200 unbelted motorists are killed and another 400 suffer life-altering injuries. Officials say a primary law will get more people to buckle up and as a result prevent traffic deaths and injuries.
We see a big difference in the people that can be in the same car crash, very horrendous crashes, and the people that are belted usually have very minor injuries, and the person next to them unbelted, oftentimes it's a fatal injury for them.
The Department of Public Safety says the lives saved and injuries prevented will also reduce state health care costs. Unbelted motorists injured in crashes have hospital charges 60% greater than those who are belted. During 2004-2005, unbelted motorists cost taxpayers $83 million in hospital charges. These costs don't even include the far greater long-term medical charges such as follow-up, doctor and specialist care, injury rehabilitation, and extended nursing or assisted living care, commonly associated with unbelted motorists. The primary belt law will also serve as another tool to help in the fight against impaired driving. Each year, 80% of drunk drivers killed in crashes are also not buckled up. The primary law could be a factor in law enforcement stopping suspected impaired drivers before they harm themselves or innocent motorists.
If you read the newspapers and see some of the summaries of the accidents, and it's been a very disturbing trend, especially amongst teenagers and young adults who have a sense of invincibility, the number of people who have been ejected from cars, and when you're thrown out of a moving car, your chances of survival diminish greatly. So it's the most important thing you can do when you get into a car is put the seatbelt on. You reduce your risk of injury or even death by 50%.
Like seatbelts, wearing helmets when riding bicycles, skateboards, scooters, or even tennis shoes with wheels can also save lives. These wheeled activities result in more childhood injuries than any other consumer product besides the automobile. Every year, more than 200 kids under the age of 15 die from injuries involving bicycles. An additional 360,000 are treated for serious injuries. Head injuries account for over 80% of those reported injuries, and nearly half of them involve a traumatic brain injury. Helmets have been shown to reduce the risk of head and brain injuries by nearly 90%. The American Medical Association called bike helmets the single most cost-effective safety device ever made. Putting on a helmet should be automatic for children anytime they get on something with wheels. Start the habit early when your child gets on his or her first tricycle.
We've seen calls that a kid, if he is involved in a bike accident, may fall off and may get some bumps, bruises, scratches. Even if he gets a broken bone or a broken arm, they can heal from that. But if they're wearing a bike helmet, that is going to protect their head, and we've seen the calls that demonstrate that children or an adult alike, that without a bike helmet, they can have some irreversible injuries.
A fall from only 2 feet can cause a serious head injury. All helmets should meet U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission standards and be labeled as such. They should also be age and size appropriate, meaning you should try to avoid hand-me-down helmets for your child. Studies show that fewer than half of all U.S. children wear helmets, and nearly 35% of those who do are wearing them improperly. As adults, it's our responsibility to set a good example by wearing helmets ourselves. Studies show that child helmet use increases when reinforced by an adult wearing a helmet.
I wear my helmet every time I ride my bike, and I don't know, I've just sort of gotten in the habit, I think, because when you have kids, you're always telling them to wear their helmet, and it also seems like you should teach by example.
Many police officers have bike helmets as a part of their uniform. The Edina Police Department, for example, has its own bike patrol, funded in part by the Edina Crime Prevention Fund. Let's go now to Officer Aaron White, who is with an Edina Bike Patrol officer, to tell us more.
Thanks, Brian. We're in your 50th in France in Edina today with Sergeant Scott Kuiper, who is part of the bike patrol program with the Edina Police Department. Scott's here with his bike. Thanks for being here. Talk to us a little bit about the bike patrol program.
Sure.
First of all, when did the program start here with the Edina Police Department?
As I recall, we first started up probably in the mid-90s, around 1995.
Okay. And you were one of the original members.
I was one of a group of 4 to 5 that initially got trained up in the program.
And in what parts of the cities might somebody see bike patrols working?
Anywhere, quite frankly, especially during the summer months here, where if we know we have a trend of, for instance, say a lot of theft from autos in a particular neighborhood or neighborhoods, you may not see the bike patrol officers going through at night necessarily, but they'll be out there. Sure. It could be in a business district, or if we had a problem at the public park for some reason with either underage drinking and or damage to property, whatever it might be, again, the bikes would be out there.
The bicycle you ride, I understand, is specifically made for police use. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, they are specialized bicycles. For instance, the equipment, when you look at it, some people might assume from a distance that's a water bottle. It's not, it's a battery pack. It has a lighting package on it. The lighting package, we have lenses up front that are colored red and blue. I can flip those down, flip a switch, and it will flash. Not that that's a lot of emergency lighting, but at least you would know that it's a police bike. I can flip it up and use it at night to illuminate the roadway or somebody. The suspension is heavy duty because, like we talked about, when you're riding down stairways and on various terrain, it's very rough.
Okay, and I see the helmet there. Safety's a big concern.
Yes, you absolutely
always wear a helmet.
Whether you're riding casually or certainly bicycle in our particular line of work, you're going to want your helmet on. That's the most important thing.
Speaking of the security of your bike theft is a bit of a problem in the city. Do you have some tips as to how people can avoid becoming the victim of that crime?
Yeah, first of all, they should indeed invest in a decent lock, something that's going to make somebody that's interested in stealing your bike move along to easier pickings. Certainly, if you don't lock it at all, you're open to theft. And then when you do lock it up, put it someplace where it can be seen, either in front of a business or a highly traveled area versus back in a corner where it's hidden, where somebody could take the time to try and disassemble and or remove your bicycle.
There's a lot more people commuting to work, a lot more bikes, it seems, on the road again. Certainly kids are riding bikes in the city all the time. Do you have some safety tips to keep people safe? As we talked a little bit about the helmet, but also being on the roadway and sharing the road with the cars.
Well, that would be for both operators, meaning drivers and the operators of the bicycles. Both of them need to be as aware as possible at all times.
And Minnesota's traffic laws do apply to bicycles.
Yes, they do. When you're operating on the roadway, a bicyclist is required to obey the same signage as a motor vehicle is. So that, for instance, if a bicycle operator were to go through a stop sign or a stop light, they can be cited for a moving violation that indeed goes on their driving record with the same fine as it would if you're operating your motor vehicle.
All right. Well, thanks for being out here with us today, Scott, answering some questions about the bike program.
Sure.
Sergeant Scott Kuiper with the Edina Police Department, part of Edina's Bike Patrol. And we'll go back to the studio to you, Brian.
In each episode of Beyond the Badge, we will take an in-depth look at different ways viewers can protect themselves from crime. This month, we're focusing on vehicle break-ins. Never leave valuables in your vehicle, even if it's locked or if you think they are out of plain sight. One common form of theft from autos occurs each summer at public places like the Edina Aquatic Center. A parent or nanny might drive to the swimming pool, park the car, and then stash a purse under the seat. After locking the vehicle, the unsuspecting victim walks up the hill to the pool to enjoy a day of fun in the sun. When she returns, she finds that her car window has been smashed and her purse stolen. Why was this the only car broken into? How did the thief know where to find the woman's purse? Because our savvy criminal was watching from the time she drove into the parking lot. Think it's safe to leave valuables in your car unlocked in your driveway? Think again. If you leave a vehicle in your driveway overnight, it's an easy target for thieves. And it's not just your cell phone, CDs, iPod, or other gadgets that they are interested in. If you leave your garage door opener in your car, a perpetrator can open the garage door and steal valuables inside your garage or home, all while you are sound asleep. Even during the day, think carefully about how long you leave your garage door open. In some neighborhoods, daytime burglaries have taken place while homeowners are home. A homeowner might get the lawnmower out and be in the backyard working when a perpetrator happens by and takes advantage of the open garage door, stealing golf clubs or other valuables close at hand. Another kind of theft that is regularly in the news is identity theft. Let's go back to Officer White, who is with Detective Eric Amundsen, to tell us more.
Thanks, Brian. We're in the Investigations Division at Edina Police Department. Today I'm going to talk to Eric Amundsen, who's a detective here. Eric, thanks for being with us today.
It's my pleasure.
We're going to talk a little bit about identity theft. And according to the FBI, identity theft is one of the fastest growing crime trends in the United States. Can you start by giving us a little summary of what identity theft is?
Sure. Identity theft is usually the first part of a two-step crime. You take over someone's identity so you can become that person, or you can fool someone else into believing that you are someone else. And the end goal is almost always to steal money.
Why is identity theft a growing crime trend right now?
Quite frankly, because it's easy to do, and people believe that the risk of getting caught is very slim, even though it's not. Right now, with online banking, with ATMs, with internet access to accounts, you can become somebody just by knowing their password to an account and or their PIN number.
And is the ease of access to credit a factor? Is the fact that you can go online and apply for a loan, a credit card, all that, has that made it easier?
I believe it has. I see incidents where instant credit, like say at jewelry stores, you want to walk in and buy a Rolex watch, I don't have the money, I want to buy this watch. They'll hand you a form with 5 or 6 questions. If you can answer those questions, you can get credit and you can walk out with an expensive watch. And that is a form of identity theft if you're using someone else's information.
What types of identity theft are you seeing in Edina right now?
The most common one would be the theft, the physical theft of, in most cases, a woman's purse, sometimes a man's wallet. Typically, you'll see a theft from a retail store, a coffee shop, a grocery store where women leave their purses in carts, a health facility where people leave their valuables in lockers, whether locked or unlocked. Somebody takes it, they make a new counterfeit identification and usually use it immediately. Sometimes within 5 or 10 minutes of the theft, they're writing checks or using credit cards in the city of Edina.
Well, that leads me to probably the most important question. What are some basic tips for people to avoid becoming the victim of identity theft and protecting their personal information?
Keep control of your personal information. Give it out when you establish a relationship with somebody, not when someone calls you on the phone or solicits information and you're not sure who they are, whether by internet, by phone, or in person.
The internet is obviously a big factor as well. Everybody's doing business in some way, shape, or form, it seems, on the internet now. How can you be sure these sites you're doing business with are safe, that they're legitimate? I hear a lot about the term phishing and that sort of thing for information. How do you know an internet site is safe?
You don't always, and there's no guarantees. Sometimes you just have to do what you need to do to conduct your business. What you should look for is a secure site, a site that shows the lock on the toolbar that says you're at a secure site, or the HTTPS secure site. That's what you want to be in. You want to see people who are using encrypted sites to transfer information about you and about your sale.
What do you recommend people do to monitor their credit on an ongoing basis?
Well, probably the most frequently asked question when I talk to people about identity theft is, should I hire someone to do it? And I'm talking about these companies that say, we'll protect your good name. We will cover all this for you. I typically say, do not hire anyone to do this for you. It all is available to you free. You can contact all 3 credit bureaus. You can actually put a freeze on your credit and say, nobody, including myself, can open credit under my name unless I say so and I give the proper authorization with a code that I establish with the credit card issuer. So if you do that, you should be frozen.
If a person thinks they've become the victim of identity theft, what are the steps? What should they do? And at what point should they come in and file a police report?
That's a good question. I hear this all the time. Wherever identity theft happens, you need to report it. If you don't know where it happened, go to the police department in the city in which you live. If you live in Edina, you report it to us if you don't know where it happened. We will take a report. We will document that you believe you've been an identity theft victim in case something happens in the future. In addition to reporting it to us, you also should report it to the Federal Trade Commission.
Do you have some websites or other resources that people can go to get a little more information?
We have some links on our website about identity theft. I have found that the Federal Trade Commission has a lot of information in a lot of different categories, and it's really a good site if you really want to get all the information you can or spend as much time as you want picking and choosing what information you want. www.ftc.com is a good place to start.
That's the Federal Trade Commission.
Correct.
Okay, well, Eric, thanks for talking to us about identity theft today. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Eric Amundsen, who's a detective with the Edina Police Department, and we'll go back to Brian now in the studio.
Thanks, Officer White, for bringing us that important message. Besides working to protect your identity, Detective Amundsen is very involved in the police department's efforts to raise money for Minnesota Special Olympics. Last month, the Edina Police Department participated in the law enforcement torch run for Special Olympics. The mission of this event is to raise funds for and awareness of the Special Olympics. Law enforcement officers and personnel from all 50 states, 10 Canadian provinces and territories, and more than 35 nations carry the flame of hope in honor of Special Olympics athletes in their area and around the world.
Just the ability to see that we're able to benefit the athletes is something special for us.
The Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics Minnesota involved more than 600 law enforcement officers and personnel representing more than 75 agencies throughout the state. Their tremendous effort raised nearly $1 million for Special Olympics.
It's an annual event, or we hope to have it an annual event. If anybody else would like to help sponsor it, we've raised anywhere from $1,000 up to $10,000 in a good year. The economy is a little tougher, so as it comes around each year at the same time, they can certainly contact us and ask to help out.
In the winter, the Edina Police Department will also participate in the Polar Plunge, another fundraising event for Minnesota Special Olympics. On behalf of Officer Aaron White and the rest of the officers of the Edina Police Department, thanks for tuning in to learn a little bit more of what goes on beyond the badge. Stay safe.
This program was made possible by the generous support of the Edina Crime Prevention Fund.